Tene tatanda Dolpopa hirab jansinki zepe richu ngiran janso te la Tachirdo Ndortempa tan jepar heba namba ni songyo re la Te nani ta tangbo Ndortempa Ndortempa tela yang Ndortempa ta jepar heba nika la Zawegi yendrabo te kare yo re se na tene ye ne kapje na tene nesul tene te la lam drepe ke chol tene te la tene tartup ke drebu topa te ye lam drebu som je chol to ndorten bata tene ye lam drebu som je go ne je par he ba te number ni te yore.
Mountain Dharma, The Ocean of Certainty by Dolpo Sherab Gyaltsen has, in general, it has two parts. The first of these is an overview, and the second of them is the extended explanation. And so the first of the parts is the overview. And both the overview and the extensive explanation have really the same root basis that they're working from. And so what is this root basis? It is that it is the nature of what we have during the stage of the ground. Then how do we practice the path? And from practicing the result, what sort of a result do we attain? And so there is the teachings on all three of these, the ground, path, and result, in both the overview and in the extensive explanation.
Tene ta te yang tangbo yese du jerdo tangaran soge tartup ke drebu dewa zangbo deji tang tempa yentin pusum sopa tang tempa te top gu ki yore la te topar sepa la je ngaran soge la solwa tamne nang yong dabo ribese na ya mare la ngaran tanda sasha dubu je ne sasha jibu je lan ruan dabo ribese na ya mare ta wona kande jire se na tene rang la norbu dabo te rang la yore la te norbu te rangi tandang us mani parela tini ti norbu te kana yore se na rang la yore mato yen kando yo mare la tini ti norbu te rang la yepa la yepar hi guba tini norbu te rang la yoji mare sombe ga lopar tawanda bota tini che namto manda wanda bo maimba tini rang la norbu yepa te rang la norbu yepa la ichi chepar chen che guba da bo jire.
And so what is the first of these? What is the ground? Well, the ground is that we all need to attain the result of happiness. We all need to have happiness and good things in our lives. We need to attain all of the qualities. And so how is it that we get these qualities? Is it something where there is some sort of a God who has these qualities and who then gives them to us? That's not how it is. Or is it something where we're now in some really nasty place and we have to go to some good place? That's really not how it is either. Rather, the way it is that we all have a jewel. We have this jewel, but we haven't yet really been able to find the jewel. And so, where is the jewel? Well, the jewel is something that we have ourselves. It's not something that anyone else has. Rather, that jewel is something that we have, and we need to know that we have it. Just as we have it, we need to know that. And so we need to know that. We should not have some sort of a wrong thought or misguided thought that, oh, I don't really have any jewel like that myself, or any sort of bad thought like that. Rather, we need to know that we have this jewel just as we do have it. And we need to believe this.
Tene ta tela ta tanda ngaranzo kandire tanda di norbuti mani pate karere sena neka lobrujitimi drip songre lobrujitimi dripati tsangma zoya yore sena tsangma zoya yore tsangma zoya yopati karere sena tanda ngaranzo dripji ge tene ta ti ge trubari tin truba imbechirna 살야 요래 대살 투파다 살 누바 다 된대 요래 라 드니 트루바티 살 트루바티 살네 드니 랑라 예베 예 데어르기 비힘보디 응은도 저르 투그리비세는 응은도 저르 투기 요래 응은도 저르 투피 누바 텔란 건로한다고도 대 무토피 준센다고 히도 요 말이라 티처나 단디 예 내당데 ye netante deorhi be nimbote ngaranzo ge senji jella yeba de neka ngaranzo ngendo majurpati jokhang tembare sena loburjetimi drpa loburjetimi drpati loburjetmati salju yeba salna rikham deorhi be nimbote ngendo churju yeba ti.
And so, why is it that we don't know about it? What is it that we need to? Why have we not been able to find this jewel that we have? The reason that we have not been able to find it is that it is hidden by the adventitious stains. And adventitious means that we can take them away. They aren't natural, that we can take them away. So it is hidden by the adventitious stains. So are these adventitious stains something that we can get rid of? Yes, we can get rid of the stains. And the reason we can get rid of them is that the stains that hide this jewel that we have are confusion. And because it's confusion, it's something that we can get rid of. We have the ability, we have the capability and power to be able to do that. So we can then get rid of all the confusion. And then when we have got rid of the confusion, then we will find this jewel that we have within ourselves. And so will we be able to make this Buddha nature manifest within ourselves? Yes, we will be able to do that. There is nothing that is stopping it. There is no reason that we couldn't do it. And so for that reason, we are able to make it manifest. So here we have the nature of the ground, and that nature of the ground is the Buddha nature that is present within the continuum of our minds. And so if we know that, and so right now it is temporarily not manifest, but if because it is hidden by the stains. But then if we are able to, but we can dispel these stains. And if we can get rid of these stains, then there's that Buddha nature that is present within us will become completely visible and manifest.
Tene ta te tabu ge tanda tene ngaranso la norbunda bote tene yela yapati tene ta ti ge kandisini hakuku yore sena tene ngupo dodo tene te je dembar trup ge nambala yu yore sena yu mare ngupo dembar trupa sinkin te jitin je khana tsane madrupa chutamji rangin ji tomba imba chutamji rangin ji tomba imba te ta tanda tene sanji jamdin de ji ta hira nimbo tabala hira nimbo tabuta tene tegin de yom hirsin jendin dusum ga nane toni juduk ga nabi che tomba ne non tomba ne che non tomba ne la so pa toni juduk go ne ten la pa pare la te toni to to pa te pe kalchembore 단도 인노네 돈 주루도 템바라라 테네 타탄다 땡큐가 노네 테네 오마자와 히라도 오만주발라소 노네 돈이 인발라 리피 드니 테네 응보라과 텐조 투요 마레 차와 텐조 투요 마레 체잉어 보요 투요 마레 난게 히바요 투요 마레 톤지 돈이 인버숨바테 타 군조 로브로와 군조 출변 넘바테 살티 lobrwa yimbata te pang to bata te sal to ba tini per na ran so la ta chitang jiting no truba yo la te tom do mazi ti jo le da nyemo ba yo re te yin yo te ngo ti pang ya nda bo te ngo ti sa ya yo re be se na yo re te ye pe jun sin ti ngo rang kin ji tomba ma ru yin do trul de ba yin ba re so.
And so we have this Buddha nature that's like a jewel, and it's within our ground. But how is it that we can know that it is there? How do we know about it? Well, is this Buddha nature, is this jewel that we have, is it as some sort of a solid thing? Is it something that we can truly prove exists? Is it like that? It's not like that. The reason it's not like that, there's nothing in this world that can actually be proven to truly exist. And so the reason is that all phenomena are by nature empty. And so this is something that the Lord Buddha taught. He taught this in the Heart Sutra. He taught this in the sutras on Prajnaparamita. He taught this in the long 100,000, the medium length, and the short sutras on Prajnaparamita. And within these, he taught the 16 different types of emptinesses. He taught about external emptiness. He taught about internal emptiness. He taught about both external and internal emptiness and so forth. And so in this way, he taught about the 16 different types of emptinesses. And so because of that, and so in these he primarily taught the emptiness of all phenomena. He taught this clearly, and so this is how it is taught in the sutras. This is also taught in the treatises. It is taught in the root verses on the Middle Way and other treatises, and these primarily prove emptiness and bring us to an understanding of emptiness through logic. And so it teaches us that all coarse phenomena are emptiness, all subtle phenomena are emptiness, all external phenomena are emptiness, all internal of the internal mind is also cannot be proven to be anything. None of these can be proven to be anything, and so that is what is meant by them being empty. However, we have all the appearances of the relative world. So we have the adventitious appearances or the fleeting appearances of the relative world. And these are something that we actually can dispel. They're something that we can get rid of. We have the ability to get rid of them. The reason is because they are confusion. They are confusion that has arisen because of our karma and our afflictions. And so, because they have that cause, are they something that we are able to dispel? Yes, they are something that we can dispel. And the reason is because their essence is emptiness, and they cannot be truly proven.
Tene tati tomba ni jitan te to na tomba ni de jing me ba je re se na jing me ba je ma re tene sanji ji yi ji ngo tene yen den tham ji ta sanji ji tene tham ji ju nu ba de tene rangjong ki yi te kani to ge yo re se na tene ngaran so gom ni sar do to ge yo re se na sar do to ge yo ma ngaran la ye pa te ngaran ge ngo hi ngaran la ye pa te ngaran ge to pa te la ta tanda to pa che pa ta tinde ji re la tene te ya ta tanda chitang ge yong ge siden la ngaran ge de hi jab ge ma re kare re se na ta tanda jur ya pa tanda tanda richu den jansu jurja patinde yo re la tene ti zaitna sik tenzo su la change re la tene ti sabji ga on de sena sabji de la tangbo dortemba de la tene niranji ya lam debusum duni temba jeita te longi drupsul te duni temba jeita tene kunike yilam debu duni tempate ta tampon dor tempate la namba som ye penane 당보 다 예람 데브좀 두니 템바티 레라 다 예람 데브숨가 자와테 가나 투고 요레세나 tening ngaranchola ngaranchu senje ta na yuba kamdar samna vesal chuchi ko rangjung gi hi sam yore ta vesal ti ngo ngoma te kande resena ta tela deorhi bi nimbo sunge yore la ta sanji gi nimbo ta te ngaranchola yeba teni te yena ya tanda ngus ni ma to pa te ta tanda tombo tu pa si ni te yeba hi teni bardo sambasini tela ngihiki tama gambi nyanslone teni te ngantu chirpa sigu yore.
And so we need to realize that the empty nature of this. But what is, when we realize the nature of emptiness, what is it? Is it just blank nothingness? It's not. It actually has the essence of wisdom. It is unified with wisdom. It has all of the qualities, the potential for all the qualities within it. These are what are called self-arising or naturally arising. And so is this something that when we meditate, that we then, through meditation, we make something new? No, it's not like that. It's something that we already have within ourselves. And that all we need to do is recognize that we have it. And then when we recognize that, we get it, we understand, we attain it. And so that is what the ground is. And so here, now, in terms of the book that we're talking about, the Mountain Dharma, Rinpoche, I am not going to explain the actual word, give a word-by-word explanation of it. The reason is that it has been translated, and you all can look at the translation and read it. And if you read the translation, you can know what it says. But rather, I'm going to be teaching according to the outline of the text. And so in terms of the outline of the text, it begins with an overview. And the overview begins with a brief teaching on the ground, path, and result. So first it gives a brief teaching on the ground path, the result. And that teaching on the ground path and result has three different sections of it. First, it teaches what the ground path and fruition in the true meaning are, and then it gives a brief teaching on how this is proven in the scriptures. And the third part is how is the ground, path, and result of the two bodies, or the two kayas. And so it gives these two parts. And so among these, the first of them is the brief teaching on the ground, path, and fruition. Now here, what is the real crux of the ground, or what is the root of the ground here? The root, as it says in the text, what the ground is, it is the luminous, the clear and luminous Dharma body, the self-arising wisdom. And so that is the essence of Buddha nature. So it is the essence of the Buddha, it is the nature of the Buddha, it is something that we all have within ourselves, and yet we haven't found it yet. So what we need to do is we first need to listen, that is, study. And when we listen, we then will come to know that it is there. Then after that, we need to contemplate it. And when we contemplate it, then we will come to certainty about it. And then following that, we will practice meditation on it. And through that, that will make it manifest.
Tene tateyang tanda jerdo kasin hubatardo choja chimbu mengo tanda ngeden jianso shashin ngeden jianso ta chukun zupsu ta marik mensel ta tene tejendo choja chimbu gomren dawe zer ndabota ta shashin ka korni 다 대견도 조바침부 트이가 거네 되네 트치에다 태갈가 검동가 거라고 데리비스나 말해 다 된주가 나랑 가리성 요아레세나 당본 된데 진도 되는 된데 검 생계성 못당당 된데 지 디지스 간데 초라 연구도 다 된다고 된데 성 요아레라 깜더 단다 내는 리슈 내는 장수 농도 성 요아레세나 된데 성 요아 말에 말에 때 옛나야 당보 이한다고 나랑주 검급게 검주 검잡 갑다 추 냠슬렘베 제부티 토비아게 자와데 가와요레 디 톱니 다디 람나 점프게 촐데 드니 젠두텔라 장마 칸데지네 트루바틴조 장마 칸데지네 조게 야바다 만툴위 옌딘딘조 칸데지네 토게 야바다 드니 텔라티네 타투근데부 칸데 토게 야바데 자와티니 드니 자웨게 tawa tela yang ngansam ke tawa ta tini jipa ke tawa namba ni ye pe na ne tini ngansam lam de si pe tawa te kap ndar tengi yo mare wona kari tengi yo re sena ngaran so ki gowa ga ripa ke ta ni tini jipa lam de si pe tawa ti ye de ya bo je tu sam ke rondu che na tini di ten do gambe nyam sling undu tela tini lam norsa me pa korsa me pa tini di salbur hiju ya panda boje imbe cherna jipa lam de si betawa imba ta jipa lam de si betawa tela ya tini jipa lam de si du yela tini tombe ge zo yen dan yi hi ni bo de tomba dan salwa yi hi ni bo de nyam de yo re ti yina ya ripi ge pa kha se kapsala perna taungda wuje yina taunga karbota taunga yip dumbonda bota tinde susu seji yore tenji onda sena jipare de pete yendo tanda chu tamchi ji chuni ge tombe chache dan chu tamchi ge chuni salwa yihiji chache de namba ni yep nane kamdar zo salwa yihiji chate zorte ne tene ngaran zoga hi to patan sal to patan yore.
As I discussed yesterday, there are the instructions on Mahamudra, the instructions in such texts as the ocean of certainty, or pointing out the Dharma body, or eliminating the darkness of ignorance, or also texts such as the moonbeams of Mahamudra, the quintessential instructions of Mahamudra. These are the instructions on the Mahamudra. And in terms of the instructions on Dzogchen, there are the instructions on the sudden leap and on cutting through a trekcha and tugal. And so these have a different style of teaching. What these teach you is they say, now first you sit in this way. And then when you sit in this way, then you meditate in this way. And when you meditate in this way, this is how you practice. This is what you do. And then this is what sort of a feeling might arise. So that is how those texts teach. But here, the Mountain Dharma, Ocean of Certainty, does not really teach in that way. That's not how it teaches. But really, what it teaches is here, what is the ground on which we need to meditate? What is the basis on which we can meditate? And what is the result that we can come to from our practice? And so how is it that we need to be diligent about practicing the path? And so when we practice the path, how do we then get rid of the confusion that we have? And once we've got rid of the confusion, how do we then get the unconfused wisdom or the undiluted wisdom? How does this come about? And so here, as I described yesterday, this is primarily teaching about the view. And when we talk about the view, there are two different ways we can talk about the view. There is the view of direct perception and the view of inference. And here in this text, the view of direct perception is not taught. However, what is taught here is the using inference, using logic. So doing listening and contemplating, and through that we can then get rid of all of our misconceptions and misunderstandings. And so here, this is here what we need to practice. It tells us how we need to practice. So it doesn't give us the specific instructions, but rather it says that we need to practice and gives us the reasons why we need to practice. And so here what we're doing is we are taking inference as the path. So this is a question of taking by taking inference through the path, we will understand what the nature of the ground is, and we will understand how it is emptiness. But that emptiness is not just mere nothingness, rather it is the union of the expanse, so the union of the potential and the union of wisdom. These two are together, and these two things are joined together. It's sort of like the example of a white conch shell. If you have a white conch shell, its whiteness and its shape, you can say that it has the white shape and there is the conch shell, but you can't really separate the two from each other. They're sort of the same, actually. You can't really take the whiteness away from the white conch. And so here, in the same way, the Dharma nature that we all have is emptiness, and the Dharma nature also has the aspect of clear wisdom. These two cannot really be separated. But however, here, what is primarily taught is the aspect of wisdom. And so we need to come to know what this aspect of wisdom is, and we need to come to be able to understand it clearly.
Tene ta teyang ransola sanjiji kiti yore ta yepa teyang ta tanda kapnder pe yone ta me ulbo ji ke chong tene tela chitang ke saje la tene noburumbo ji za chenbo mangbo tene te sago la yepa te rimbi lo tong tra mombo la sag drip ni ta te tenchu chimbo di lam nanda yon tene sang yo la tene te sai drip ni yepa tendo me ulbo je samne me ulbo ti kangba je zu kangba ti no burumbo che ja chimbo tene mangbo za chimbo tenju ge ten la kangba ti zu yo re kangba ti zo 콤바트 조드텔라 다 코랑 강보 올라 베 노브름보지 자침보다 제버던 법아 자침보 망보 아 드니 요레데 이나요 코랑 그때 여바 하고요 말해라 데 여바 하 먹고디 코랑 울니 울보종니 드니 세구 노르롱지 하자 가야 메 울보지 둥할 침보지 울보 둥할지 나르니 요레라 요레데 있나요 디기 둥할디 뇽구기 요 말해 뇽무그베 준세데 코랑게 데네 디 여바하고 요 말해라 데네 여바하 먹어와 디 준세 가르리세나 코랑고 원사 다자 통보제가 올라 여바라 데네 코랑게 사드나라 노브름부지 여바하고 요 말해 다텔라 멍행히 진짜게 다운드텔라 매 울보텔라 베 다 코랑 울메바 둥할 쳔보 롱제메바 갈리 쳔보 도데 코랑 둥할 데 뇽구가 만두 뇽무그베 준센데 코랑 그 강보니 야사데 꾸나 데니 사데 꾸나 코랑 그 오타나라 노브름보지 자쳔보 제버던 법 자쳔보 대정이 요래 데 여바데 미히바데 베 탑두보레 니제보레 당아랑 그때 트난 녹신데 랍고 그래서 tini te lapa la tini korang sati ko ne tini noburumboche de ni noburumboche de ni ni tini dungal tang kanga kaya mebe be me chupo longche chenpo jorba tang tempa deji tang tempa jelan jortu yo are la be te yendo ngaranso senchi tongche la rikang dewar hi bingbo te yo are te yinna yang susu ga hako yo mare la tene ta kahila ngensong ka dungal rabo nyonga ta kahila ulwa ta tripa la so pe dungal mombo chengi par chin trepe dungal mombo nyonga yo are dungal mombo nyonga yo are de dungal de tsani nyonga yo mare ngarang la sanji ji nimbo dewar ki bi nimbo te rang la yo are la te yepa te tene sanji chom den de jin do da tene kepa tong tuto chimbo nang ji tsombe tenkyu tong menga tenzu ge teni ta ngarang su ge tel zolwa chena tene noburum boche de ni tu ge yore ta yilam nde som ge nam ga te ta bu ji du du chi ne ten yore
And so we have this wisdom of the Buddha, but it is like in an example. And the example is of this poor man. And this poor man is built a little hovel for himself on top of the ground. And beneath the ground where he's built his little hovel, there are jewels. There's this wonderful treasury of jewels with lots of great, valuable, expensive, wonderful jewels underneath it. But these jewels have been hidden there for thousands of years. So over thousands of years, they've been covered by dirt and filth. And so this is the example that is given in the Supreme Continuum by Maitreya. The jewels are there, but they are hidden. They've been there for thousands of years, and then this poor guy comes along, he builds this little shack on top of it. And he doesn't know that underneath him there are all of these jewels, these wonderful, expensive, valuable jewels underneath him. And so on top of that, he's built his shack, and he doesn't know that. And because of not knowing that, he is poor. He doesn't have enough food, he doesn't have enough clothes, he doesn't have any money, any possessions, and he experiences all sorts of different sufferings from that. But actually, there's absolutely no reason for him to experience any of this suffering. The only he has these jewels, he just doesn't know about it. And so for that reason, because he does not know about it, he has all these sufferings, and he isn't able to get the jewels. He's not able to find them just because he doesn't know that they're there. And so then there's a person comes along who is clairvoyant, and this person sees, this person, this poor guy doesn't have any money or any clothes or food or anything like that, but and has all these really has all these problems and sufferings in his life, but there's absolutely no need for it, because underneath him there is this treasure, these great jewels that are underneath him, and there are these great jewels, and they're just covered up by piles and piles of dirt and filth, and he just doesn't know it, and so he says to him, "Hey, you don't need to do this. You have these jewels. You have all this wealth right underneath you. And so you just need to dig. And if you dig down and find the jewels, then you'll be okay." And so the guy does. And so the poor guy digs and he finds the jewels. And when he finds all the jewels, then he doesn't have any more suffering at all. He's rich. He has everything he needs, the best clothes and food. And he becomes this really wealthy billionaire, a really rich sort of guy. And so it's just in the same way. We all have the Buddha nature within ourselves, but we don't know about that. And because we don't know about this, some of us experience the sufferings of the lower realms, or we experience the sufferings of hunger or famine. We have many different problems and difficulties in our lives. We have all these sufferings that we do experience. Yet there's no need for us to experience them, because we really have this Buddha nature. It's something that we do have. And this is something that if we follow the instructions in all of the sutras, the instructions in all of the treatises that the great Mahasiddhas wrote, and all the oral instructions, then we can find it. And so what is it that we're going to find? What we can find is this Buddha nature that we have. And so in this way, through this example, this gives us a brief teaching on what the ground, path, and fruition are like.
Tene ta te je sa chi ibate te lo long gduba. Ta te long gduba la. Tene te tanda ge pe yo ni de hor hi bin himbo senji tongji ji senji ji la yu ya pate. Tene Dolpopa hira jansin khori ge hibare. Khori ge zambare be sin mare. Khong sanji jomdin de jin do ta tene 다 두두 첨부 된 중에 땡큐라 땡네 송아라 되네 갑들 다 롱기 투프기 솔티 다 롱탕보티 대hin히 빈분도 생기티 나네 제이 롱탕보티지 롱니바티 단다 땡큐 첨부 질라마 다 자사 샴방긴 버그 숨베 질라마 짜와 tene champang bu sunga ta ji lama ti gen relba ti loben tomi gi song ga pa ji yo la ti zawa ga no ne tongbo du ji song ti tomi gen relba no ne ge par tal ne song ya pa ti tene long ni ba long tangbo ti sanji jin do yo long ni ba ti ta jasa champang gen bu ge shangchu de ngai no ne ten chu jin bu ji la ne ge 단다지 다디나 딜은 들바 다디게 단다 된조 단다 응우서 스페셜 직나야 요르라 데메나야 자와 다 단다 공두히 비단 때가랑 다보지 성 요르 데네 데견도 롱숨바데 다 냥일린데 빈도 냥일린데 빈도 산지 냥일린데가 때라 동화 제버진 송 도지 요르라 딘도 데 별라 넘버 2 요. 노데 넘버 2 예바디 제 자가르니 처르주요. 제 전원이 야르주요. 너 2 요라. 데니 디 당보 자가르니 주요. 데니 벤데 달라이 다위 주요. 도그나야. 디게 로주당 파실 베텐 좀 다보제. 고니 다 센지 단지 센지 질라르금 대와르기 비니 뭐 요예바. 데네 대견도 다디 숨바지 다 이바데 냥일린데 바 침부근도 전원이야 주와 디난도 용 다데라 데네 베데단다 팔체르 다 유르지 체퍼가 온기데 시데시 세만다와 마도 댄지바 다보다 딘데 송요와레 라 데네 대견도 다 단다 이바 당가바데 넘버 못도 발란주 부종 생긴 디난도 용 디에다르도 다데 비 만다와 디지 책이 체버르레 마도 단지 체버메바 디바 다부송아데 다갑들 다롱나 다보지 고니 드니 산지 좀된 디지 송여 바다 자자 잠방금 송여 바다 딘데가 고니 잘도 된 송아레
Now here the second section of the text is how this is proven in the scriptures. And so here we have the example of the Buddha nature that is present within the mind continuums of all sentient beings. And is this something that Dolpo Sherab Gyatsen thought up himself? Is this something that he made up by himself? It's not. This is something that the Buddha taught in the sutras. This is something that the great practitioners and scholars taught in all of the treatises. And so it is on the basis of these that he gave this teachings. And so he then presents the different quotations from the scriptures. And he presents 5 different scriptures here. And the first of these is from the Sutra on the essence of the Tathagata, or the Sutra on Buddha nature, you could also say. The Sutra on the essence of the Tathagata. And that is the first one. And the second one is from the Supreme Continuum, which was composed by Maitreya. And so with the Supreme Continuum, there is the root text that was composed by Maitreya, and then there is also the commentary on it by a Sangha. And so first the root text teaches it very briefly, and then a Sangha in his commentary explains it in a very thorough fashion. And so there are these so there are these 2 different parts of it here. And so in this way we've had two different quotations. First the quotation from the Sutra on the essence of the Tathagata, and then we also have the quotation from the Supreme Continuum, which is one of the 5 dharmas taught by Maitreya. And so you can look at these and come to understand them, and basically these all give the example just as it was described. So you can look at the root text and see how it is and come to understand it as they are. Now, the third citation that Dolpo Sherab Gyatsen gives is from the Parinirvana Sutra. Now, there are 2 different parinirvana, or Parinirvana Sutras that are in Tibetan. One of these was translated from the Indian texts, and the other was translated back into Tibetan from Chinese texts. And so the first of these is a text that was translated by the first of these, the one translated from India that was translated by Devachandra is the Sanskrit name. Hlayadawa in Tibetan, Devachandra. And so this also gives the example, and it gives a very similar sort of example. And so it basically teaches us, gives us an example that in all sentient beings there is this Buddha nature that is present within all of us. The fourth example is from the great Nirvana Sutra, the Mahaparinirvana Sutra that was translated from Chinese into Tibetan. And so this is also giving a similar example. So because it comes from a different place, a different country, the words are a little bit different, but the meaning is really the same. The meaning is essentially the same. And then the fifth example comes from the dharani, or retention mantra of the thought-free wisdom. And so here, again, it gives the slightly different words, but the meaning of them are all the same. And so in this way, the book gives then 5 different citations on why we have Buddha nature. These are citations from the words of the Buddha and citations from Maitreya. And these clearly teach that we have Buddha nature.
Tene ta ti jiso sachi sumbate ta tartuk debut capsula kare togi yoresena kunyi togi yor. Kunyi bote tene tangbo zawa tene chujiko. Chujiko te ta tanda dewar hibi nimbo ngando jorne. Pangja lobruche trimati chasang parsalni. 다 상지 세두 상 세두 방상 출발티 차상 파빵 데네 도지 연된 덤지 야제 연된 덤 틀린 덤지 제발라 상지 세기와라 상지 응우데 간데레스는 상지 추지고 데네데 단다 연된 덤지 이마다부데라 거기요 상지 추지고 연된 덤지 이마레라 대라 상지라 가리 구기 요아레세나 드니 조 랑단 푸슨 조바도 연단 푸슨 조바 틀리 구기 요아레라 틀리 데 드니 상지 추지고 디게 틀리 그 자와데 용기 요아레베세나 용기 요아레 토라 쳔바 세와 누바 강가 요아레라 디처나 자와데 용기 요아레데 이나요 둘자 틀리 디 우스 조투기 요아레베세나 조투기 요마레 가리레세나 조지 넘발레 요마레 다 틀리지 넘버티 템발라 조지코 땡고 요아레라 조지코 땡두텔라 데네 두르자 레 타바 탐지 진잘와라 롱제 조부코다 두르자 레 마다 바탐지 진잘와라 초고 주부코티 데네 롱제 조부코도 주부코 니 땡게 요아레 얘나야 다티 동보 추지고 니바 롱제 조부코 숨바 주부코티 고섬진남 요아요 요아레라 디두 요나 다티 추 조지고 롱제 조부코도 주부코 니가티 데네 추지나 바마인바 데네 치속지나 발라 데네 데네 추지 담배 추지 걸로 고아인데 저는 주고도 주고니 숨게 요아래라 다티 주고도 주고니 보때 가니 중게 요아래세나 데네 나랑 그때 배술 쳔보세네 사르도 터바레베세나 사르도 터바 말에 디기 짜와데 나랑래 요아래.
The third teaching, the third section of us teaches us, well, what is it that happens when we attain the result? What is the great ultimate result that we can have? It is to attain the 2 bodies, the 2 kayas of a Buddha. And so the root of these is the Dharma body, the Dharma kaya. And so this is the Buddha nature when it has become completely manifest, when it has become completely visible. So when we have completely dispelled all of the adventitious stains, when we have purified ourselves and perfected, the Tibetan word for Buddha here, excuse me, I skipped ahead. So when we have purified ourselves, when we have gotten rid of all of the confusions. And so here when we say Buddha in Tibetan, it means purified and protected. So when we say purified, we mean that we have gotten rid of all of the delusion and confusion. And then we have perfected or developed all of the qualities and activities. And so in this way, we are purified or perfected, or in that way, Kagye in Tibetan, or in Sanskrit, we'd say Buddha. And so this is the Buddha that has all of the activity. And the root of all of this is the Dharmakaya, the Dharma body. The root of the basis or the foundation for all the qualities and all of the activities of the Buddha is the Dharmakaya. And so what is it that we need when we attain Buddhahood? Well, what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to bring perfect benefit for ourselves, and we need to be able to bring perfect benefit for others. And so we need the activity that can do that. And what is the basis? What is the root, the crux of all of this activity? It is really the Dharma body. Because the reason is the Dharma body has the qualities of love, wisdom, and power. These are all present within the Dharma body. And so this is something that is present there. And yet this is something, is this at heart something that is able to actually do the activity itself to benefit the students and disciples? It is not actually able to do that itself, because it does not have any form that can be seen. And so for that reason, the Buddha will display or show us the form bodies. And so there are the two different form bodies. There is the pure form body. There is a form body that appears to the pure disciples of the pure perception, and that is the enjoyment body, or the Sambhogakaya. And then there is the body that appears to disciples who are impure, and that is the perfect emanation body, or the Nirmanakaya. And so there are these two different form bodies, the emanation body and the enjoyment body. And so here we have one way of presenting it, we have three different bodies of the Buddha. We have the Dharma body, the enjoyment body, and the emanation body. And then if we sort of condense it to make it easy into two, then we have then we can say that that there's the form body, which is both the emanation body and the enjoyment body, the Nirmanakaya and the Sambhogakaya together. And so these are some things, they don't have the aspect of being Dharma, they have the aspect of being form. And so they show form. And so, but how is it that we are able to get them? Are these something that we need to make some sort of effort and make anew ourselves? No, they aren't. The root of these is something that we have ourselves.
Tate yepitsolde kandechirese rit number ni gone yo somarela tene tangbo chujikote yote rangingi nepres ta devar hibi nimbote ye demani ngaranso semji taindola tene yopa tene perna ngaranso senji nelu de ngotombare sungi yorela chutonji tombani re sungi yorela chutonji tombani de ya tini tsawa kana tu yuwaare se na ngaran tsuki sen la te na ngo rangin ji ma tupe tongpa nyi te tena yuwaare. Te yendo ngaran tsuki sen ji nelu te salwa yihi ki cha sungi yuwaare la. Salwa te yang tongpa ke sen ji nelu ke tongpa nyi te jiyang me pe tongpa nyi ji ma re la. tene te hachang nongwa tongjin chardo rungwa ge tongpa nyeji inpe chirna salwe rangin re la te tabi saltong songdun jupa te rangin ji nepere dewar hibi nyingbo rangin ji nepere te ngarang su zo guge yo mara ye demani yo re 다 레니바티 즈ubjikko 이jote 간들에 세나 되네 단다 용도 롱브레 숨고 요하래라 다디 랑힌지 네베레데 나란서 술이나요 요하래데 이나요 데라 롬뇽스 마노나 랑힌지 네베레데 엔드 줄기 요 마래라 롬뇽스 롱나 랑힌지 네베레데 드니티 트루베트마디 림지 살 트루베트마디 림지 살니 드니 옌팅동 트니지 차디 림지 펠리용 림지 살리용 제체르로 임비처나 다디 용도 롱바디 용도 롱브레디 다텔라 데이터브지 디 레이트 넘버 2 요레 드니 대양 감더서나 티바친 뷰지 라메게노도서나 드니 랑힌지 네페레디 서우가 때른다 보지rel라 드니 단다 용도 롱브레디 젠힌다브지 젠힌데 로리리긴도 체로로 와긴도 양 펠기 요레 드니 페 넘버 2 제고 레이트 넘버 2디 땡요레라 드니 대양 단다 레이트 넘버 2 요바디 롱탕보디 다 단다 지땡주 침부 질라마타 드니 니바디 노디징게 나도 다 선추 땡아이는 노디징게 나도 소요레
And so how is it? What is the manner that this Buddha nature is present within us? It is present in the way of what we would call the two families, or here in this translation it's called two lineages. You could say lineage or family. And so there are these two families that we have present, and the first of these is the cause of the Dharmakaya, and that is the naturally present family. This is something that we have present within us from the very beginning. From beginningless time, we have this. And so this is the reason we have it is because the nature of our mind is something that is empty. All phenomena are empty. And what is the essence of, or what is the root of all of that? The root of all of it is that the essence of our mind cannot be proven to be anything. It is emptiness. It is not established in any ways. And yet, is that emptiness just something that's nothingness? It's not. That nature of our mind also has a clear aspect. So the emptiness, is it just blank old nothingness? It's not. Our mind is able to appear as anything. It's able to perceive anything. And so in this way, we talk about the nature of the mind as being the union of clarity and emptiness. And so this is what we call the naturally present family, the Buddha nature, the naturally present family that we have within us from beginningless time. The second of the types of families that we have is the cause of the form bodies. And this is what is called here the family that we practice correctly. And so we have this naturally present family within ourselves. And yet, if we do not do practice, then it does not become manifest. It doesn't become visible in any sort of way. And yet, if we take it up, if we practice it, then we will be able to dispel all of the stains of confusion. And if we can dispel all the stains of confusion, then all of our qualities and all of our activities will be able to develop. They will grow clear and better and better. And so this is what we talk about as the family of practicing correctly. And so here, this way we have these two different types of lineage, or two different types of family within ourselves: the naturally present family and the family of correctly practicing. And so here, there are examples given for these two in the great treatise, the Supreme Continuum, the Mahayana Uttara Tantra Shastra. And the examples that are given here, the example for the naturally present family that we have is the example of the jewel that is hidden underground, the great treasure that is underground, that is naturally present there. The example of the family that we practice correctly is of a great tree. And that tree is something that when you plant it, it gets bigger and bigger, it grows, it flourishes, it blossoms. And so in this way, we have these two different examples of the different types of family that we naturally have within ourselves. And so we have these two different types of family that are present within ourselves. And here there are two different citations that are given to talk about these. The first of these is from the Supreme Continuum. The second quotation comes from another one of the 5 dharmas of Maitreya. It comes from the ornament of the sutras, the Sutra Alankara.
Tene tatige ndortemba te tembarela. Tate Jesu tene jepar hepa ta chasan salbur sumare. Jepar hepa tela kasi yoare sena som yoare tangbo ye. Ye te ta ye. Ye devar hibe nimbo te senji tangji senji la yusul jepar hepa ta. Tate ngandu churge tap lam khandisi ne lam la khandisi cengu ge yepa temba ta. Te long la chamber sepa la tene tene thartu kundebu khande thoge yapati tachitang ye lam de song go ne ente.
And so that completes the overview of the text. And following the overview, there is the extensive explanation. And so in the extensive explanation, it teaches all of this very clearly. So it teaches it has 3 different parts. And the first of these parts is about the ground. The ground is the Buddha nature. It teaches how is this Buddha nature present within all of us. And then we have this Buddha nature that's present within ourselves. So what do we do? How do we make efforts in order to, what path do we follow to make this manifest? And so this is the teachings on the path. And then finally, after we have really made efforts at following the path, what is the ultimate result that we will attain? And so in this way, it teaches us the ground, path, and result.
Tene tateyang tatambo sum tempe nane tatambo ye ne tante tempare la tene ye ne tante yapu je higu pat pe kalchimbo perna soja chimbu ge tei tenzu ge nando gombe ge chol dende je gom dende je luji ne tan luji du tan dende ji tene sanji song tang tang dende ji suma mato ye gombe ge ye te kande imba te salvo tenyo mare la te yinchi minchi nge par te he go ba jaita tene te he ni nyans len go pa ta sha ja chimbu ge tang tang wa te nyans len go pa re te yin yon tang bo ye ne tang te tu song ge herab ge yabu ji he go ge yo la tene ti cher na kam der ye te yeten ba te la tene chuni samu ke yi hi su te ba se ta chitang ke chuni sapu samu ke yi hi su te ba se sa chi tang bo te la chitang ke sa chi dan yo ra yetel dan ge na ne tang bo chuni samu ke yi hi su te ba re la tene ta ke yi hi se du chitang ge on de se na ke yi number hi pa sing ge yo ra Kwenji number hipati ngupo la dendrup tabo la kelembati sensong petutare. Tate la jitang namba sanji pa la tipa chimbu la sensong patong. Tene umapa niye pe nani. Tene kwenji number hipa dendrup to kelembati sensong pare. Re de yinaya tene tanda kari yegi yuware sena kwenji yehi sungu yuware la. Kunji nomhi tang kunji yihi ni le chebar kare yuare se na ngaran tsuge senjin chunhong la tene ngupo yepar tong de pe gen chusha te la kunji nomhi sungi yuare ti ngo te ranghin ki tongba yinba te topa de la kin yi se ge yore la kin yi sun de kin yi ge zawa de kin yi number hi ba de ngo dember to ba re se na dember to ba mare ngo rang yin ji tomba re la ni de kin yi tang ran so ta tu tan ji ge sen ji ne lu ngo te pa ka sa len kan di den ngo te ge yore se kin yi number hi pe ge sal cha de ngo rang yin tomba yin pe ten ngo te nang ge yore ta ngo te kin so la ye de sen ji ne lu de ngo rang yin ge tomba yin pa ta tomba ngo te salwa yin pa ngo te ge yore la teacher na chu ni sa mo kin yi su ten ba se ta di sa ji tang bo te ten yore.
So of these three different parts that are talked about, the first one is the ground, and how is it that the ground is present? This is something that is very important for us to know. When we talk about the instructions on Mahamudra, for example, this tells us how do we meditate, what do we do to meditate, how do you sit, what posture do you sit in, and then what should you do with your mind, how do you look at your mind. But other than saying that, it doesn't really say what is the ground that we're meditating on, what is the basis that we are meditating on. And so it is extremely important that we absolutely must know what this ground is. And then if we know it, then we will be able to practice it. And so for that reason, if we know it, then we will be able to do our meditation practice well. And so for that reason, we need to develop the wisdom of listening and contemplating. And through that, we need to come to know what the ground it is. And so here, we have the teachings on the ground. Now, the teachings on the ground have 7 different sections to them. And the first of these sections is that... the first of these sections is teaching that the... so I'm losing my place for a moment. It's teaching that the profound dharmata, the profound dharma nature is the all-ground wisdom. And so this is the first of the second section, the teaching that the profound dharma nature is the all-ground wisdom. And so here, when we talk about the all-ground or the alaya, usually we talk about the all-ground consciousness, and so there are people who propose that the all-ground consciousness is something that truly exists, and those people who propose that are the teachings are those who teach the mind-only school. So that is the mind-only school. In the great vehicle or Mahayana teachings, we have the mind-only and we have the middle way, and of these two, it is the mind-only school that says that the all-ground consciousness is something that truly exists. Well, then here we have these teachings on the all-ground wisdom. And so what is the difference between the all-ground consciousness and the all-ground wisdom? Well, the difference is that when we have, when the confused appearances of things appear as if they're really there, when it seems as if when it seems like things are really there, that is the all-ground consciousness, the alaya vijnana in Sanskrit. But then when we realize that the essence of that is empty, that is the all-ground wisdom, or in Sanskrit, the alaya jnana. And so the result, so the root of all this is that when we think of things as being truly existent, that is that is the all-ground consciousness. And then when we realize that they are emptiness, then that is the all-ground wisdom. And so when all of the great teachers introduce us to the nature of the mind, that is what they are introducing us to. They are introducing us to the clear aspect of the emptiness, and that is what they're introducing us. So when you get an introduction to the nature of the mind, what you are being introduced to is the clarity of the all-ground wisdom. And so here we have the nature of the mind, and the nature of the mind is something that is empty. And although it is empty, at the same time, it is clear. And so here, this is what this is teaching, that the Dharma nature is the all-ground wisdom.
Tene tatige jerdo ye nelu tige ngonda bote tene tati sachi nimba te longi drupare tati longi drupate la tene long mambu drup yo pate la 아니 드링 하도 대좀 세나 검대 지잡나로 제
And so that is teaching what the essence of the way the ground is. Or that is teaching how the ground is in its essence. And then following that, this is taught. This is proven through many different citations from scriptures. But there are a lot of citations, and this is maybe enough for this morning. So now let's do a little bit of meditation.
So